Oh boy, Harvey's hot takes. Ever since Saturday night when Luka Doncic was traded to the LA Lakers, I have been so excited about talking to this guy, Bryan Hayes, about this deal. And specifically, Bryan, we saw all those Mavericks fans that are understandably devastated about losing Luka. But I guess my first question for you is, if Mavericks management is right and this actually leads to another Dallas NBA title, will all be forgiven?
Yes, it will all be forgiven. It always is in sports. It's very simple, Jay, as we all know. You either win or you lose. And if you win, the parade is forthcoming and people will be down there and they will be praising your name. And in this case, it's Nico Harrison, the GM of the Mavs, or the new ownership in Dallas. And I'll give you a couple of examples on this. I would ask Raptor fans, right? Albeit Kawhi was probably closer to Luka Doncic, and DeMar, I guess, would play the role of Anthony Davis here. But when Masai Ujiri and the Raptors decided, DeMar DeRozan, you're going, people were devastated in Toronto, right? DeMar was a legend in Toronto. He loved being a Raptor, and Raptor fans loved that he loved being in Toronto. They wanted to see him play it out. They wanted to see him chase the championship that he had been chasing for a long time and had a lot of success in terms of regular season play and playoff performances. There wasn't too much concern once they finally won the Larry O'Brien, right? When they were parading through the streets of Toronto, not a lot of people were saying, man, I wish DeMar was here, right? With all due respect. I think people were pretty happy with that. I'll give you another example down in Florida, right? Jonathan Huberdeau, drafted, developed by the Panthers, 115 points one year, face of the team that won the President's Trophy. He gets flipped from Matthew Tkachuk. At the time, I'm sure Panthers fans were thinking, what are we doing here? I like this Huberdeau guy. He's one of us. He loves being a Panther. He loves living down here. He's been very good. It's very comfortable to love the superstar that you know and want to envision that superstar driving your team to a championship. But the reality is Matthew Tkachuk worked out very well. And no one was complaining once that Stanley Cup hit South Beach. And obviously that's the plan here in Dallas. And what makes it so unique and ultimately so fascinating for me is, again, Doncic is the best player and he's going out. But it is tough to do this, but you have to do it if you're a fan. I'm sure Maverick fans were fans of the team before Luka arrived, and they will be fans when he leaves. But you have to have faith in management, especially in modern day sports. You have to, because it's so much money and the leagues are so watered down now. There's so many teams and expansions coming in the NBA. I think more expansions coming in the NHL. You have to have faith that your management of your favorite team knows how to pick out the best superstar and the superstar that will win, and then knows how to build around that superstar. Because again, if you make a mistake, you hand the money out to the wrong guy, you're in big trouble. It's too watered down and the salary caps are too restrictive. So it's tough, and I get it. And Maverick fans are heartbroken right now. But ultimately, they have to have faith. And if it works out, everything's going to be all good. That's the way pro sports is.
All right, speaking of trades, Bryan, the Vancouver Canucks lost their first game since the JT Miller trade, game against the Detroit Red Wings on Sunday. Elias Pettersson originally had an assist in that game, and then the NHL decided to take that away. So now it's just 5 points in 2025 for Elias Pettersson. Is he now under more pressure than any player in the NHL to perform? And, Bryan, my follow-up to that is, do you see him actually responding to that pressure?
Yes, I believe he absolutely is facing more pressure than any other player in the league right now, Jay. I really don't think there's anyone else in his stratosphere because of what he represents to that team now and the circus that has run through Vancouver. And ultimately, JT Miller was the face of that. JT Miller was the one taking the most bullets. He was the guy that was too harsh. He was the guy that was all over Pettersson. That was the perception from the outside, right? That JT Miller was the grizzled veteran who was too hard on the young guy Elias Pettersson, so Miller had to go. And now he's in New York, and he's already lighting up, and he looks great. And now what you're left with in Vancouver is Elias Pettersson being the highest paid player on the team. Now he's the #1 center, and now he's got to show up. Because ever since he signed that contract, it was around this time last year where they started really crossing T's and dotting I's in Vancouver and closing in towards that long-term contract at big, big money. Again, the highest paid player on the team. He has simply not played well enough. At times, he's been horrible. and he was awful down the stretch last year. He wasn't good enough in the playoffs. And this year, again, Miller has been the cover for him. And other distractions, right? The fact that Demko hasn't been playing great. Maybe people are looking at Rick Tocchet in year 2. Are you pushing the right buttons? For me, it's simple. Elias Pettersson has got to be someone that can drive play. He's got to be a superstar. He's got to be someone that puts up 90 to 100 points. And at this rate, he's not even going to score 20 goals this year. He may not hit 60 points. That's simply unacceptable for a guy getting paid that much money in his prime. And there's another real elephant in the room here in Vancouver, and that is with the cap continuously going up, and now you got some space to deal with JT Miller going out. Quinn Hughes has the best value contract in the league. He's making less than $8 million for this year and 2 more. And they better make sure he's ready to go and he's in a position to win over the next 2 years, or who knows what's going to happen with him in the future. And I'd be looking directly at Elias Pettersson as the guy that's got to drag him out of this. He's got to be a superstar. So to answer your first question, Jay, yes, absolutely. More pressure than anybody in the league. It's time to show up if you're Pettersson. As for whether or not I think he will or if I know he will, I don't have that answer for you. And honestly, what I've seen over the last 12 months is not overly reassuring. I don't love the way things have gone ever since that contract played out. Obviously, this year has been a circus for him. And there's another elephant in the room, and that is that his no trade clause and no movement clause, it doesn't kick in until July 1st of this summer. And I think he's officially on tryout. I think he's on a tryout in Vancouver to prove that Miller was the issue. Or now that Miller's out, he can breathe again and he can perform because they can still make the playoffs. They can still get to 3rd seed in the Pacific. It's not like LA is running away with that. Vegas and Edmonton are gone. The Kings are still within sight, and they're competing with the Calgary Flames for that second wild card spot. Vancouver can still salvage this season, and I think it's on Pettersson to do that. Obviously, it's a team sport. Other guys are going to have to step up, but I think he's got to clearly be the best forward for him. He's got to play like $11.6 million guy, and if he doesn't, or if he pouts, or if he just simply looks uncomfortable, I would not be shocked at all if he was playing somewhere else as of July 1st.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to the Super Bowl. Hazy B. Chiefs looking for the three-peat. Philadelphia trying to avenge their loss from 2 seasons ago. Are you willing to bet on KC to pull this off, Hazy? Or you think maybe the Eagles are going to pull it off? Or is just a win just feel inevitable here?
Well, listen, I came on with you early September before the season started, and I was adamant the Chiefs cannot and will not three-peat, right? I said, I'm going down with history here. It's never happened in the Super Bowl era. It's not going to happen this year. And going into last week's game, I thought the Bills are going to beat them. This is the chance. I came on your show all the way up, leading to that AFC Championship game. I said the Bills are going to beat them. And you would think I would learn from those lessons, and I would come on here and say the Chiefs are clearly the pick. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going down with the ship, Jay. I'm taking the Eagles here, probably out of spite, because, again, I'm going to look like an idiot if they end up three-peating. They're obviously a great, great team. They obviously have the best player playing, and that is Patrick Mahomes. I'm scared of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo with 2 weeks to prepare. But this Eagles team has been running hot really down the stretch and throughout the playoffs, and I think Saquon Barkley is a cheat code. I think if Jalen Hurts can control the ball, Saquon Barkley's going to break loose, and that front seven in Philly, they're going to get after Mahomes. He barely got touched against Buffalo. He's going to get hit, and I think he's going to get hit hard. I think it's going to be a great game. I love the fact that the spread's 1.5 in favor of Kansas City, and it hasn't moved an inch. That screams pick 'em. It screams great football, great Super Bowl. I'm going to be stubborn here, Jay. I believe it. Not 100%. I believe it enough, though, to come on here and say I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. And if they win, I'll gloat. If they lose, hey, I guess I got to come in here and finally give the flowers to Patrick Mahomes. Long overdue.
You know what? I love that you're taking the chance. It was a fun edition of Harvey's Hot Takes this week, and I can't wait to have you on next week so that you can officially parade around here. Just parade around your own home studio there. After your victory, Brian. I'm really pulling for you. This has been Harvey's Hot Takes, and that is Bryan Hayes.
Hot Takes is presented by Harvey's. Customize your burger and get it delivered from our app to your door. Harvey's, it's a beautiful thing.